look at factoring. There are many types of factoring, and I'd like to first start by just identifying or describing what factoring is.
Come back.
As it says, factoring is rewriting an algebraic expression as two or more expressions multiplied. An example would be simply the number 8. If I ask you to factor 8, you could factor it as 2 times 4. Here's your beginning form. That is the product. Here's your factored form, the two numbers that are multiplied together. If I ask you to factor x squared, the answer would be x times x. Another way to look at factoring is it's the reverse distributive property. For example, if I distribute 5 times x plus 2, I know that that would distribute to 5x plus 10, the distributive property. Well, reverse distributive property would start with 5x plus 10, and you'd ask, what do I multiply together to get 5x plus 10? So I'm basically going to reverse it. In this case, we look at each term, we see that there's a factor of 5 common in each term. So I put my parentheses down and I say 5 times what would produce 5x? The answer there would be x. 5 times what would give me 10? The answer is 2. And notice that I simply copied down the sign. This is looking at reverse distributive property. Now, today's main lesson is let's reverse the fact that a binomial times a binomial equals a trinomial. The example that I've started with is we all know x plus 3 times x plus 4 gives us the trinomial x squared plus 7x plus 12. Well, factoring is when I start with that trinomial and I rewrite it as the product of two binomials, x plus 3 times x plus 4. Let me go through the process that you need to know so that you can look at a trinomial and know how to factor it. There are two other methods that are very handy, the box method and also a grouping. Right now, I'm simply going to call this try to buy factoring by rules. And the way I do it is I'm reversing my multiplication process. I know since there's nothing common in either of these terms that if it's a trinomial, it has to factor into two binomials. So my first step is to draw the two sets of parentheses. When I multiply these, the easy one is the first term. I know the first term is when I multiply the first term of each. So that would be x times x. The second thing that I do is now I have to determine the signs. And the easiest way to remember what the signs are is look at the second sign first. If it's positive, that means the signs have to be the same. And then I look at the sign before it. So in this case, this sign tells me the same. This sign tells me they both have to be positive. Now, the last thing that I do to get the last term, I have to have a product that multiplies to 14. But I also need that same product to add up to 9. So I start by listing the factors. 1 times 14, 2 times 7, and that's it. So now I simply pick the pair that adds to 9, and that's 2 and 7. So that is